Hey, YouTube fans. Hope everybody's had a wonderful Christmas. Me and my family has. We're going to talk a few minutes on being raised in the Appalachians and how it was for my age group and kind of what I experienced growing up and stuff. And the road we're on is going out towards where I was born and raised. Let's see, where do we start at? I was raised on the tobacco farm all my life, well, all my childhood life, and well, from the tobacco farm to coal mines to logwood. So, but my dad mainly was a tobacco farmer, so we got to see plenty of that as kids growing up, and really didn't do much other than hunt and fish every chance I got when I was a kid in ponds and so on and so forth, stuff like that. But a lot of us talk, and a lot of people wonders where our accent, if I'm saying that right, comes from. It comes from on my mom's side. My grandma was full Cherokee Indian. My grandpa was full Irish. On my dad's side, they're Scots-Irish. But my speech was infected from an injury when I was a kid from a major dog bite that tore my face off, and I had to have it reconstructed back on, and it kind of messed with my speech. That's why I grow the goatee and stuff to hide the scars. But anyway, we still have that sling of a speech. Even my wife's got it. She's Scots-Irish and Indian too, and just about everybody back here in the hills is. But you know, yeah, we was raised up hard, but it was good times. It's actually better times than it is now. I mean, we worked from sun up, sundown into tobacco fields, and if you raised on a tobacco farm, you know what I was talking about. And it was non-stop work. It seemed like the time you got it planted, it was ready to cut or ready to top or something. And you know, that's about the only way people had to make a living. It's either tobacco farming or logging, or tobacco farming and logging was about it for the country. Because back then the cattle market wasn't that big. Then the cattle market got up here in the last few years, and everybody's went to cattle farming. But well, we had a lot of well, yeah, we were the pot capital of the world. I gotta say that, throw that out there. There was a lot of marijuana growth back in the 80s, 70s, and 90s. We had a lot of pot growth in this county. Not so much now, but a lot of people made their living that way, I guess. But not no jobs. I mean, not no factory jobs at all. We had the boat factories come in for a few years, but they about all went away now. Maybe couple main, one or two main factories all there are in our hometown. So you either farmed or logged, or you was poor, or you grow pot. That's just the truth. I mean, a lot of people grow pot. I mean, it's nothing when I was kids, because you know how bigger outdoor I am, but watching my channel to be out in the woods. I stayed in the woods. And ginseng, I love the ginseng. We done a lot of that too. And you know, you'd always run across somebody's pot patch, somebody's garden, and half the time you know whose it was and not to bother it and all that good stuff. But you know, growing up, there's just something special about the Appalachian people. Appalachian people can make you on a very little money. You know, Appalachian people can be happy with a very low income. And but first, my story is, you know, as a kid we worked from sun up to sundown about every day but Sunday, and every day I wasn't working, I was in the woods squirrel hunting, coon hunting, fishing, or something outdoors, ever since I've been big enough to pack a gun. But there's a lot of stories I tell about back farming and everything, but I went into logging as soon as I turned 18. No, wait a minute. I went logging when I was 19. I worked a year at the boat factory. I just didn't make enough money. I forget minimum wage, whatever it was back then, but it wasn't much. And trying to raise a newborn baby, it just didn't work out. So I went into logging on my own and done that for 20 years. And I had to quit due to medical reasons, and sometime I'll make a video on what all the reasons is why I had to retire from logging. And but I miss it very, very muchly, and done it for 20 years, and I sure do miss it. You know, didn't work for nobody. I worked for myself. I had my own equipment. And we'll get into that later, and maybe I'll make I noticed one guy's been making logging injury videos. I can tell a few myself, but nothing too major, but we still here. But growing up back here in these mountains, everybody knowed everybody, and back then you just hunted wherever you wanted to. I mean, nobody posted their land. Nobody done nothing like run you off their land or nothing like that. And it was just all these hills that we're driving by. I've been on once or twice in my life. And nowadays you can't, every bit of the land's posted, and it's just ruined. I mean, it ain't what it used to be. There's some pretty fields for a lot of deer. We do have a lot of white-tailed deer back in here, but I remember back in the 90s, we never had no deers. Much at all back in the early 90s, and on up in towards the late 90s they started getting a little thicker. But in the 80s, when I was a small boy, oh Lord, if somebody killed a deer, it was something big. I mean, I remember my uncle killed a spike buck, and he had a whole train of people following him around with a little spike buck in the back of his truck. And I guess that'd be the first deer I ever remember eating. I fell in love with it. And you know what ball went, Mom? And I've liked deer meat ever since then. And yeah, we wasn't raised to have any education. Education was not important. I got the camera a little sideways here. Hold on here. Education was not important at all. When I was growing up, I barely did learn to read and write myself. They just didn't, you know, our parents and stuff in our generation, they just wasn't educated themselves, and they didn't see no need of it because they didn't have an education. They didn't think we needed one, but I sure wished I'd have got one, but because there wasn't really nothing to use it for. You didn't need an education to cut timber or tobacco or whatever, but you know, I wouldn't take nothing for the heritage of being raised in the Appalachians. And this is the Appalachians, this northeastern part of Wayne County. And, you know, it's just, I remember the nights of getting out coon hunting and stuff, and running there old coon hounds and squirrel dogs, and just anything. Appalachian people, they just have a certain way of doing stuff. The hog killing times. And yeah, we done a lot. We killed our own hogs and scraped them and raised them, and that was something I got very interested in when I was a kid. I love raising my hogs, and you know, and killing them for meat and stuff. And it was fun. And it wouldn't take nothing, you know, for where we was raised up at and stuff. We've lived in several different places over the years, but there's nothing like the mountains of eastern Kentucky. And my wife gives a thumb up on that. Well, she was raised in town, but she wasn't raised in the woods like we were. She don't cankered all this deer eating, and so it's talk we got. I'll get over some of these words sometime or another, plumb over yonder, or clean over yonder, or y'all, or why ain't you done? Her dad would always say, no, my mom would always say she's gonna cut the blood out of us kids with a switch. which that was always a funny one.
Like a little bitty slang that really nobody notices. That's this morning. It's really
This is morning, mater, tater, backer. But a little bit of my speech problem come from a serious injury I had when I was about 11 years old from a major dog bit that landed me in UK trauma center for about 7 days. And my lips and stuff were crooked, and my whole nose was bit off, and the whole lower lip was bit off, tongue was almost bit off. And some of it comes from that, but in life is just Appalachian. But and all the get out in the woods, man. We'd climb trees. Us boys, all the boys that growed up with stuff, friends and stuff. And out there in the woods, there wasn't no girls. It's all boys. It's 20 boys to about 4 girls in my age group. And we go out coon hunting, climb trees, ride them over. Lord, I could tell stories. I think about it a lot of times at nighttime, and just that was one big thing was coon hunting. That was one big sport that I don't do no more. And squirrel hunting, we do a squirrel hunt and eat. I go out and shoot down squirrels. My grandpa would skin them, and the head was the best part. I mean, that was the okay truck. You just about hit us head on, but anyway. Eating them squirrel heads. My grandpa, he just loved eating squirrel heads. Anybody ever eat squirrel heads? I never did eat them, but don't shoot their heads up, he'd say. And they had to talk to themselves too. They even talked different than we talked, and I wish they were still alive and stuff. I'd shoot some videos and get some good stories from them, but they all passed away before all this technology come along with YouTube and stuff. But to hear them tell them about making moonshine and stuff, which I seen that done several times in my life, and but I thought it'd be pretty neat to share some of this stuff with you. It's just a little icing off the cake. I could tell a lot more stories. Just raised Appalachian, man. I tell you, it wasn't nothing like it. I remember we used to go out and build tree stands over one deer track, and I think I hunted till I didn't have my driver's license before I killed my first buck, and I was always successful at deer hunting. But I hope y'all enjoyed the little story, and we'll bring you more about being raised Appalachian. And guys, I want to jump off here. We're about at our own home place, and we're gonna visit a while here on Christmas Day, and then we're gonna head back in. Yeah, and we'll catch you on the next vid, and may God bless.